bolster the CHR's mandates, powers, and functions to fulfill its constitutional mandate effectively or more effectively. The proposed charter for the CHR is indeed a significant step towards the protection of human rights in the Philippines. After the CHR charter, we shall address Senate Bill number 2873 or the Anti-Ticket Scalping Act. So, filed by Senator Mark Villar, which seeks to regulate the sale of admission tickets and penalize unauthorized transactions. Wala tayong masyadong audience dito physically, pero ito yung ang interesado dito, yung mga the concert going segment of our population. Naka-online po yung mga yan na nanonood sa atin. So mga high-tech na mga tao ito. This measure aims to protect consumers or the concert goers from exploitation and guarantee fair access to events of their favorite artists and performers. Then, the third subject matter, we will now tackle Senate Bill number 2791 or the Digital Nomads Visa Act filed by Senator Marcos, which seeks to create a new visa category for digital nomads. So yung mga CHR, if you want to stay and listen to the or even contribute to this other subject matters, you are welcome po. So this bill defines digital nomads as individuals who work remotely using digital technologies while traveling to different countries. This legislation recognizes the transformative nature of remote work in a digital age, positioning the Philippines as a competitive and welcoming destination for global talent while fostering economic growth. And then, of course, just a general appeal or notice to all our resource persons that you are welcome to submit position papers should you so desire. And the request is let's make it siguro within 7 days from today para we can act on immediately on the subject matters. Okay, so once again, maraming salamat po. And siguro if Senator Robin has an opening statement, yeah, you have the floor, sir.
A'udhu billahi minasyaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pagbati po ng kapayapaan. Una po sa amin pong professor, Senator Pimentel, sa amin pong tinuturing na teacher namin dito sa Senado, at sa inyo pong lahat na aming panauhin. Ako po ay masasabi ko pong sabik na sabik sa pagdinig nito sapagkat ang akin pong panukala patungkol po sa charter ng Commission on Human Rights, sa palagay ko po ay panapapanahon na atin pong pag-usapan dahil matagal na po. Masasabi po natin na medyo 1987 po ba? Tama po ba ako? Ang inyong charter. Ngayon po 2025 na. Kung atin pong bibilangin ng taon, medyo mahaba-haba na po. Marami na pong mga naganap. Hindi lang po sa ating bayan, kundi sa buong mundo. So, ibig pong sabihin, nagbabago din ang pamantayan. Kung ano yung mga level sa pinag-uusapan po natin ang human rights. Ang human rights po ay masasabi natin kapatid po yan ng God-given right. So, napakahalaga po nito. Kung babalikan po natin ang ating kasaysayan, laging lalo na po sa buong politika natin ngayon, kung naririnig na po natin ng mga ganitong nangyayari sa Pilipinas, na ganito, may ganitong nangyari, may EJK, may ganito. So nasaan ang human rights ng mga panahon na ito? At nung mga nangyari po sa Davao din, nung mga nakaraan na masasabi natin na mayroong mga karapatan na nasadlak. So nasaan ang human rights? So ang tinatanong po natin, ito ba ang dahilan para bigyan natin sila ng karagdagang kapangyarihan para sa panahon nito ay makasabay ang human rights? Kasi po sa mga panahon dati, nung bata pa ako, at siguro naman ang iba dito ay parang anak ko na o ate ko na o kaedad ko, naramdaman natin talaga na may kapangyarihan ng human rights. Pero itong mga nagdaan na panahon, lagi natin tinatanong, nasan sila? So hinihingi ko po sa inyo na itong aking pong panukala, mabigyan sila ng panibagong umpisa na ah, makatahak ng bagong landas upang sila po'y makasabay. Ano? Alam nyo, hindi lang ho dito sa Pilipinas ang usapin ng human rights, pati sa EU sumasabog ang issue ng human rights, international criminal court. Lahat po 'yan iyan po ang issue sa buong mundo, human rights. So siguro panahon na po talaga, mahal naming chairman, amin pong professor, na atin pong tignan at pag-aralan kung ano po itong mga nasa panukala na ito. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. Okay, so unahin na po natin yung CHR Charter. At sinabi nga ni Senator Padilla, 1987. Kasi ang legal basis yata ninyo after the Constitution would be, was it an EO? Is it yes?
It was an EO.
Yes, an EO, no? So, okay, so yun yata yun. So na-situate na natin. Sige, so we'll ask the committee secretary, Attorney Mortel to make of record the presence of resource persons for all the three subject matters. Thank you.
Mapagpalang hapon po sa ating lahat. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Senator Robin. Sorry, good afternoon. For the Commission on Human Rights, we have the Honorable Chairperson Richard P. Palpal-Latok, sir. From the DBM, we have Attorney Tricia M. Baraan and Ms. Joy Rico. From the GSIS, we have Attorney Lucio L.U. Jr. with Vice President for Operations Group, Rodrigo Manuel, and with them is also Attorney Giovanni Lynn Marin. For the Anti-Ticket Scalping Act, we have from the Department of Trade and Industry, Attorney Marimel Dancel Porciuncula, Assistant Director for the Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau, FTEB. With her is Attorney Mariel Aviles, Senior Trade Industry Development Specialist. And likewise, they have Ms. Danielle Nicole Segovia from the Consumer Protection and Advocacy Bureau. From the National Bureau of Investigation, we have Attorney Abram Geronaga, Executive Officer of the Fraud and Financial Crimes Division. From the SM Lifestyle Entertainment, Inc., they are represented by Attorney Ronhel Vin Papa. From TicketNet, we have the General Manager, Ms. Karen Nicasio Santa Ana. And with her is Legal Counsel Attorney Raymond Romano. Likewise, Mr. Chairman, we have from the Live Nation Philippines, the Managing Director, Ms. Riza Pascua. Afternoon, ma'am. And with her is Ms. Isabella Pascua, Director and Corporate Secretary of the said corporation. From the Consumers Union of the Philippines, we have their President, Mr. Rodel Taton. Good afternoon, sir. And with them is Secretary General of the group, Attorney Vanessa Marie Oyos, and their member, Mr. Joseph Bernard Marzan. For the Digital Nomads Visa Act of our hearing this afternoon, from the Bureau of Immigration, we have Attorney Victor Andrew Siriban. From the Department of Tourism, we have Assistant Secretary Charlene Zabala Batin. And from the Bureau of Internal Revenue, we have Attorney Rose Ann Bonaobra, Attorney Rambi Agabao, Attorney Giselle Marie Galvez, and Attorney Laika Ley Tolentino. For the information of the chairman, sir, we also invited Dole, but they are not yet here, and as well as the DOJ, but the person in charge is had a prior commitment. That is all, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Committee Secretary. So, but I am elated and glad that the BIR is represented by 4 lawyers. So they want to make sure that the nomads will be taxed properly. Yan. So I'm sure yun I'm sure yan ang mission nila dito, pinadala ni Commissioner. Make sure matax. Pero mamaya i-discuss natin kasi di ba balance eh. Gusto natin i-attract, ayaw naman natin siyempre ano rin masyadong pigain na to the point na hindi sila ma-attract to come here. But okay, we go back to our first subject matter, the CHR Charter. So we will recognize the chairman of the CHR, Chairman Palpalatok. Yes, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an opening statement. Magandang umaga po, Mr. Chair of the Committee on Justice and Human Rights, Senator Aquilino Pimentel, the third, and the member of the committee, Senator Robin Hood C. Padilla, and the rest of the members of the committee. No less than the Constitution mandated the creation of an independent commission on human rights and enumerated its powers and functions. Pursuant to this constitutional fiat, Executive Order was issued in May 5, 1987, establishing the Commission on Human Rights. Executive Order, however, did not elaborate the powers and functions of the CHR. As a result, the Commission has encountered challenges in the exercise of its mandate. The Commission was vested by the fundamental law the power and function to investigate all violations of human rights involving civil and political rights. Although the Constitution is not explicit with respect to economic, social, and cultural rights, the Commission interprets its mandates broadly to include monitoring and investigation of economic, social, and cultural rights violation, considering that human rights are interdependent and universal. Besides, our country has subsequently ratified the International Covenant on Economic and Social and Cultural Rights. This interpretation is also supported by the minimum international standards for the establishment of national human rights institutions called the Paris Principle that requires national human rights institution to have broad mandate. Against this backdrop, the CHR and human rights community has been, for years, advocating for the enactment of a CHR charter that will clarify its status, structure, mandate, composition, power, and methods of operation that will strengthen the CHR in terms of protection and promotion of human rights. Internationally, the strengthening of the Commission on Human Rights as the National Human Rights Institution of the Philippines is among the recommendations during the 41st session of the UPR Working Group in November 2022. Similar recommendations were made by various treaty bodies such as the Committee Against Torture, the Committee on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, the Committee on Civil and Political Rights. The same recommendations are echoed as well by different special rapporteur. Hence, we in the CHR are glad and grateful to be invited to this hearing of the Senate Committee on Justice and Human Rights for the deliberation of the CHR Charter Bills, Senate Bill number 2487 filed by Senator Manuel M. Lapid, Senate Bill number 2440 filed by Senator Robin Hood Padilla, and the Senate Bill number 2582 filed by Senator Loren Legarda. The bills ensure the Commission, as the country's national human rights institution, a broad mandate to investigate not just for violation of civil and political rights, but also economic, social, and cultural rights violations, as well as other sectoral human rights concerns. It also provides a clear, transparent, and participative process for the selection and appointment of the members of the Commission. It ensures protection against reprisals, such as filing of criminal and administrative cases that have no support in law and in evidence, and thus may hamper significant work to protect the victims of human rights violations from further harm. It is hoped likewise that the matter of fiscal autonomy of the Commission in such a way that its full fiscal autonomy is considered as an element of its independence. The Constitution and the EO Executive Order number 163 is clear that the Commission is an independent body focused on safeguarding the rights of every Filipino, regardless of age, religion, sex, gender, or social stature. It thus needs to have the power to allocate funds according to its priorities and to enable it to respond to the demands of the times. With a CHR charter, the Commission could better fulfill its mandate as human rights watchdog as envisioned by the Constitution, and to perform its bridging role between and among the different stakeholders as mandated by international human rights principles. With that, Your Honor, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. Who else among our resource persons wants to share or give us some inputs from DBM? Ayan, itong suki natin to si Attorney Baraan. Sige po, ma'am.
Good afternoon po, Mr. Chair, Senator Padilla, and to everyone po. First of all po, we recognize po the intention of the bill, and we recognize the independence of the CHR and its creation under the Constitution po. So, we'd like to manifest po 3 points on the fiscal autonomy, organization, structure, and on earmarking po. So first, on the fiscal autonomy, we would like to state po and note that the fiscal autonomy of CHR is not equivalent po to the other constitutional commissions and the SC. So, as we can see po, in the Constitution expressly provided under Article 9, Section 5, that the constitutional commissions enjoy fiscal autonomy. However po, under the provision on CHR, it only provides that the approved annual appropriations of the commission shall be automatically and regularly released. And also, may Supreme Court decision na rin po na clarifying the autonomy of the CHR, which is only limited autonomy lang po. So, and just to manifest and to clarify po. And on the organization naman, we also recommend that the CHR to review their existing organization structure. Baka may mga pwede lang pong i-strengthen, and the same shall be subject to the review and approval of the DBM po, evaluation and approval of the DBM. And dun po sa earmarking, may I think yung 2 Senate bills po indicated earmarking. So, yung current fiscal position po ng government, and we recommend that the same be subject to the usual budget process without indicating po the specific amount in the bill. And finally, dagdag ko na rin po sa mayroon din pong proposal on the creation of institution. I think may existing na po rin na unit under the CHR which conducts mga trainings. So baka pwede po nila i-reconsider without the need of creating po an institute up. Thank you po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Baraan of the DBM. GSIS, I think you're well represented this afternoon, so thank you very much. So who will speak for GSIS? Attorney Yu. Sige po.
Good afternoon,
Yes, sir.
Chair, Senator Padilla. Thank you for inviting GSIS for the deliberation of this bill. We fully support the bill, and the effect of GSIS is only, I think, on Section 11, but currently on the retirement benefits. But currently, the CHR, as mandated by Administrative Order number 137 or 37 last 137 2005, they were already the chairman and the commissioners were already given the same rank as the justices of the Court of Appeals. So with that provision, by that AO, they are considered a special member of the GSIS, so they have a separate retirement law. The chairman and the commissioners, but the other officers and employees are still under the coverage of GSIS. Mukhang wala man ng bago dito. I think it's still provided in Section 11 that the chairman and the commissioner shall have the same rank as the as the justices of the Court of Appeals, and the survivorship benefits shall be equivalent to 100%. Ganun yata, no? Of the salary of the deceased chairman or commissioner, which is nag-iba, no? Because under the GSS it's 50%. But again, because they are considered a special member, so hindi naman sa GSI. So I understand this is allocated by the DBM or the government as special member, no? So yun, I don't think there will be any changes since wala namang provision. So the other officers and employees, upon the effectivity of the bill, will still be a member of the GSS, and they can still under the retirement laws of GSIS.
Pwede pong i-clarify kasi medyo ngayon ko lang ito nalaman din. Ano? So, ilang commissioners, Chairman? Five.
One chair and
Chairman,
members.
Chairman and 5 commissioners.
Four. Only 4.
And 4. Chairman and 4 commissioners, they are
Considered as
not considered. They are considered as GSIS members. Tama?
Special members.
Special members.
But not under the coverage. Hindi na ho under the coverage ng GSIS.
So paano yung retirement nila? Directly from the CHR?
May appropriations at
By appropriation, Your Honor.
By appropriation. But the formula that kasi syempre, by appropriation is the amount. How do we arrive at the amount? What is the formula?
Well, the provision of the executive order, I think EO or AO is similar to the members of the judiciary.
Judiciary, okay, sir. So so every year we must not forget to appropriate, ganon.
Yes, Your Honor.
Otherwise, pag malimutan, walang matatanggap for that
Yes,
calendar year.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, ganun pala ka-sensitive ito. May any other agency na ganyan na pagtrato?
Yes, I think National Labor NLRC,
Okay.
Pao.
Inote nyo ngayon.
PAO, Public Attorney's Office, the Department of Justice. Although the Department of Justice, halos lahat ng fiscals they are under that special law. Iba ding ano nila, they have different scheme, no? Of course, members of the judiciary, matagal na silang special
Iba
member.
naman talaga yan. No?
Other constitutional body, commissions like Civil Service, COMELEC, and COA.
Okay, nagugulat lang ako dun sa executive branch kasi dapat ang general rule, GSIS eh. So nagugulat ako
Yes.
na DOJ, NLRC, ano pa
Yes.
isa?
PAO.
PAO. Oh.
Yes, because these agencies also have been given special laws, no? Marami pang, I think we also attended DFA hearing because they also want a separate return, parang ganun. So, even OGCC and OSG.
Energy regulatory. Chairman, you contribute to any binabawasan din?
Yes, Your Honor. Meron po kaming contribution sa GSIS.
Sa GSIS?
Yes. Kaya lang special member po, iba po yung rate. Iba yung rate po.
And yet your benefits are GAA.
Yes.
So parang donor kayo sa GSIS, bale?
No,
May
Pinabalik
sinasabi po yata yung
Hindi.
may special ano yata.
yes. Ever since, if an agency would become a special, for example, the chairman, commissioners will become special members, they will only contribute a premium equivalent to the life insurance. So wala na yung retirement. So for example, chairman,
Okay, wala sila.
the chairman will now contribute, but only for the life insurance portion.
Life insurance.
So you're still insured sa life insurance under GSIS.
Okay, tama. Okay, sa life insurance. Okay, but that's only good for the 5 people in the CHR. All the rest, they follow general rule.
They're
General
still under GSIS.
regular GSIS coverage. So thank you for that. And then point out nyo, Attorney Yu, that the bill does not change anything.
Yes, as currently worded.
As far as as far as the current system is
Yes.
concerned.
May I be allowed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yun lang pong regarding the retirement benefits of the members of the commission. Kasi kung nabanggit po kanina yung other agencies, may mga special laws po sila. So may special provision for retirement. Ang CHR po ay wala. So ang pinanghahawakan lamang po namin yung executive order kung saan sinasabi na yung members of the Commission on Human Rights shall enjoy the same benefits. Pero hindi ho klaro. Unlike other constitutional commissions, other agencies, na very clear na ito yung inyong retirement benefits. Ang commission po, dahil wala kaming charter, yun lang po yung inaasahan namin.
Pero if measured by the letter of the EO, sa susunod. Kung ano yung plinano ng EO about your retirement, nasusunod
Opo.
hanggang ngayon.
Nasusunod po, except that unlike other bodies or agencies na meron na survivorship pensions, sa amin po wala.
Ayun, yan ang bago. The second paragraph of section 11 of SB 2487 as ginagamit natin reference. Yun ang bago.
Yes, yeah.
Bago.
Kasi katulad ho nung...
Tapos bago na siya, although that concept survivorship benefits applicable sa iba, yung percentage of the survivorship benefit iba rin. Special concession din. Medyo mataas. 100%.
100%.
Which is sa ibang provisions may
50%.
survivorship benefit, hindi 100%.
Hindi pa. 50%.
So para lang to incentivize din people to serve sa CHR ganun as commissioner or chairman. Kasi sa inyo kanila lang ito ulitin natin sa kanilang 5 lang ito, ha. Tama? Okay.
Yes.
Sige. Okay. And then a survivorship benefit is only for the surviving spouse. Yun ba yun? Ganun ba yun? Para lang maintindihan ko. Although na-encounter ko na to sa ibang mga batas eh.
For the GSI's law, a surviving legitimate spouse and children, dependent children.
In sequence. Surviving spouse muna. Ganun ba yun?
Yes.
And then, if the surviving spouse dies na...
No, they can
they share. They share. May formula na doon.
May formula lang. Iba lang yung formula.
In this particular case sa CHR, basta conscious lang tayo, surviving legitimate spouse lang itong pinag-usapan dito.
Yes.
Tama?
I think under the bill, if knock on wood, if the commissioner or the chairman will die, the survivors can receive the same retirement benefits as the sa GSS hindi 50% lang. So
kaya nga. Pero dito no mention of children dito, dependent children.
I think that's what the chairman medyo linawin lang siguro.
Sa bill po wala wala na.
Ang gusto ko sabihin, okay, suggestion ko nga, pag-aralan niyo yung mga different expressions of the survivorship benefits, then kunin niyo na lang yung what is the best model, ilagay nyo na dyan. So, surviving legitimate spouse and iba kasi may dependent children mention eh.
We will do that, Your Honor.
Tapos natatapos na lang yata yan after the lifetime of the dependent child or when the child is no longer dependent. Parang
ganun. 18 years.
Upon age of majority.
Age of majority.
Even upon reaching age of majority, kung dependent.
If dependent.
Yeah. So ganun ha. So ano nyo na lang. So, okay, any other inputs on the CHR charter? BIR, meron? How about our concert goers? Meron tayo? Pero, Senator Padilla, kasi meron din ako tanong about after Senator Padilla.
Maraming salamat po, aming tagapangulo. Tanong ko lang po, medyo doon po sa atin po, Chairperson. Maganda po yung punto ni Atty. Tricia. Pero sa atin po mga pag-uusap, lagi natin bumabalik tayo doon sa kapag wala yung fiscal autonomy, parang lagi tayong nasa mercy kung sino yung parang nawawala yung independence. So ano po kaya ang pwede nating sabihin ngayon kay Atty. Tricia dahil nagkabanatan na tayo ng parehong konstitusyon, ano bang dapat natin gawin? Konstitusyon na ba ang dapat nating amendahan tungkol dito sa fiscal autonomy? Dahil ako, talagang naniniwala ako sa sinasabi ng Commission on Human Rights na kailangan talaga nila may fiscal autonomy para hindi sila na-blackmail o na anuman ng kung sino man yung nakaupo. Talagang meron sila talagang kapangyarihan. So yun, nandun po ako sa posisyon na yun. Ang tanong ko lang, kasi sinabi ni Atty. Tricia na nag-uopisina dito, paano tayo ngayon? Okay.
Maraming salamat po. Siguro hindi naman ho kailangan amyendahan agad ang ating saligang batas. Amin hong suggestion ay balikan ho natin yung deliberation ng Constitutional Commission nung ginawa itong provisions ng creation of the Commission on Human Rights. Dahil kung atin ho susuriin, yun hong lahat ng mga tanggapan na binuo sa ating saligang batas, binigyan ho ng fiscal autonomy. Kahuli-hulihan kasi itong Commission on Human Rights nung panahon na yan, nung ginawa. Pero makikita ho natin na klaro ang intensyon ng ating framers of the Constitution na bigyan ng fiscal autonomy ang komisyon. Kung ano man hong dahilan.
Naniniwala po ako sa iyo kasi galing sa revolusyon eh.
Tama.
Galing tayo sa revolusyon noon ng 1987. No? So dapat siguro doon nga sila dapat nakasentro dahil yun nga yung sigaw noon yung human rights eh. So siguro paliwanag mo pa aton, medyo magkakapi pa ako.
Sige po. Kung yun nga po, kung atin susuriin, yung nais ng ating framers ng Constitution na bigyan talaga ng independence sa itong komisyon na ito at magiging malaya at maging makapangyarihan upang magtaguyod at magprotekta sa karapatang pantao dahil sabi niyo nga ho, galing ho tayo dun sa bahagi ng ating kasaysayan na upang tugunan itong kasaysayan na ito. Kung atin susuriin, hindi lang siya naging parehas ng probisyon compared do sa other offices or commissions na ginawa. Pero ang intention, kung babalikan ho natin ang kanilang deliberasyon, parehas po halos yung kanilang intention. Lamang, hindi na ilagay yung provision na full fiscal autonomy. Ngayon, dahil po dun sa talata lamang na yon ay nabago ang intensyon ng maaring nabago yung intensyon ng ating framers ng saligang batas tungkol dito.
Maraming salamat po. Yun po, mahal naming tagapangulo, yun po yung lagi naming pinag-uusapan sapagkat kung ano pa yung pinakadahilan ng revolusyon na yon ay yun pa ang nagkaroon ng pagkukulang. Kaya po sana ito pong pag-uusap na ito, malinawan natin kung paano po magkakaroon talaga ng autonomiya, totoong autonomiya ang ating human rights. Dahil napakahalaga po nito. Maliban sa anuman, ito ang pinakamahalaga. Ang karapatan ng bawat Pilipino, mayaman, mahirap, matanda, bata, anuman ang kanyang kasarian, kailangan po ay ang ating human rights ay may autonomiya.
May karagdagan pa po akong sasabihin dahil tayo ho ay miyembro ng United Nations at ang United Nations po ay nagpasa ng isang resolution. I think it's a resolution. Yun pong binanggit ko kanina, yung Paris Principles. Itong Paris Principles ang tinatakda niya, ang National Human Rights Institution ay maging independente. Ang isa sa mga saligan para maging independent ang isang National Human Rights Institution ay fiscal autonomy. Yun po yung hinihiling at tinatakda ng International Human Rights Framework or isang resolusyon po ito ng United Nations kung saan tayo kasapi. So, bagamat wala, hindi klaro sa ating saligang batas, ay nando naman po sa ating tungkulin bilang miyembro ng nagkakaisang bansa sa Paris Principles.
Principles is a treaty, as far as you know, Chairman.
It's a resolution, I think. It's
A UNGA?
Human Rights Council
Human
resolution.
Rights Council resolution. Meant to be followed as followed by state members as best practices, parang gano'n?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, so pagdating sa the National Human Rights Institution to be independent. Sa Constitution yun, nag-guarantee sa inyo eh.
Yes.
Pero ang sinasabi mo sa amin sa Paris Principles, they gave the details of what is the meaning of being independent as, did they use the phrase fiscal autonomy?
Yes, Your Honor.
Andon?
Apo.
Did they define the phrase fiscal autonomy?
Tignan na.
So, ito yung mga fiscal statements for advocate.
So, isa ho sa mga attributes ng independence ay yun nga, fiscal autonomy. So, financial independence siya.
Kahit ulit kasi na-distract po ako. The chairman recognizes or acknowledges the arrival of Senator Mark Villar, one of the author of one of the bills we're going to discuss. Ano ulit sabi mo, Chairman? The fiscal autonomy?
Yung attributes po ng independence ng National Human Rights
Attributes of
Institution.
independence. Sige po.
Una po, independence in law, ibig sabihin mayroon ho siya mandato created by either constitution or a law. Pangalawa po ay independence in leadership, meaning there's a transparent participatory selection and appointment process. Third, independence in operations, kasama na po siguro dito yung ating fiscal autonomy. So, meaning the NHRI must be able to determine its own priorities, programs, projects, and activities without external direction. Fourth, independence in policies, meaning it must be able to determine its own policies, its findings and recommendations without external interference. And fifth, financial independence. So the state must provide funding adequate to its needs and must have control over its budget once the funding is provided. So kung titingnan ho natin yung kasaysayan ng komisyon, regularly po nagiging subject po ng attack or nahihirapan pagdating sa panggigipit, pagdating ho sa pagpasa ng budget ng komisyon. At kung atin hong matatandaan, meron pa hong pagkakataon na meron hong threat na masiro ang aming budget.
Anong year po yun? The zero?
Hindi pa ho ako ang 2017 daw po.
Okay, pero sa yung proposal, pero in the 2017 GAA, hindi kayo.
Hindi naman po. Kaya lang, yeah.
Part siguro ng political process yun na may nagpo-propose na ma-zero, pero hindi naman talaga zero kasi I'm sure aware naman siguro ang leadership ng Republika, yung mga ganun the Paris principles, ano. Pero siguro tignan natin, sige. Gawin natin ng 2025 as the example. Sa budget call, what was your budget requested by the CHR? Submitted to the DBM request?
I think it's 1.8 billion.
1.8.
1.8.
Okay, 1.8 billion pesos. GAA 2025 law, magkano amount binigay sa inyo?
1.1, I think.
1.1. So 700 million pesos yung pero sa legislative bill na yon. But sa NEP, ilan?
Sa NEP po ay
sa NEP ay so 1 point ito
around I think 800 or 900 po yan.
Ang pumasa lang. So ganito, para lang maintindihan ng mga not in government that this is actually your money also. So kailangan concerned din po tayo. May budget process yan na nananawagan ng DBM sa mga agencies. Submit your budget proposals. Ang sinubmit ng CHR for this year 2025 1.8 billion. Tama, sir, no?
Yeah.
Yan yung mga nila, para programs nila, plano nila, activities, pasweldo nila. Hihimayin ngayon ng DBM yan para sa President's budget, isasubmit sa Congress. Ang figure ng CHR is 800 million. Around 800 million. So, from the point of view ng CHR, hindi na siya napagbigyan ng 1 billion kasi 1.8 billion yung hinihingi niya eh. Ang sinubmit ng DBM and the presidente sa Congress, 800 million of that 1.8 billion. Ang pinasa na ngayon ng Kongreso, kasi ang iba sa amin nakikinig sa special request nila, nag-initiative kami na dagdagan, ang ending ninyo is 1.2. 1.1? 1.1. So yun. Ganun ba yun? Sa point of view ninyo, kung may fiscal autonomy kayo, anong effect nun? That it should have been the 1.8 billion request should have been automatically entertained by Congress? Yun ba yung naiisip ninyong fiscal autonomy?
Well, hindi naman po. Kasi we recognize that the power of the purse belongs to the Congress. But ang importante po ay mabigyan ng pagkakataon or ng laya ang komisyon na magdetermina kung ano yung tamang mga proyekto, programa at aktibidades na dapat niyang gawin upang tumugon sa kanya mandato at mabigyan ng pondo yung kung ano yung mga nararapat. Well, of course, dapat ito ay sang-ayon sa plano.
Di ba yan yung procedure natin?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sa matangan ninyo, para maganda ang kilos namin sa 2025, fulfilled kami, busy kami, 100% ng energy namin ay magagamit, 1.8 billion ang aming naplanong kailangan. Sabi ng DBM, hindi, 800 million lamang. So, kunyari may grant of fiscal autonomy sa bill na ito, anong magbabago dun sa procedure na yon?
Compared po sa ibang mga offices na merong fiscal autonomy, ay meron hong automatic appropriation, automatic release, non-reduction of budget from previous year.
Yung non-reduction, pag alam ko sa judiciary lang yun. Am I right, Attorney Baraan? It's parang special feature po ng judiciary natin yun.
Yes.
Para lang maintindihan din ng ating mga kababayan, kasi pera din naman talaga ninyo ito, really to promote the independence of the judiciary na hindi siya magbibake ng funds sa executive. So, kaya para kung may kaso sa executive before the judiciary, decide siya ng patas pa rin kasi wala siyang so-called utang na loob dun sa executive na may kaso sa kanya. So, that's the ibang situation ng judiciary. At saka sa number 4 na kasi sa Section 17, Chairman, ng Human Rights, Article 13, the approved annual appropriations of the Commission shall be automatically and regularly released.
Tama.
Ito ba yung nasusunod? Nasusunod ba ito?
In a sense, yes, Your Honor. Pero
how does DBM release CHR budget? Monthly or quarterly?
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, we follow naman po yung guidelines po natin on the release of funds annually. So, for
January 1?
Yes po.
Out?
Opo. So,
does the chairman confirm that? Yung 1.1 billion budget ninyo for 2025, na-release na ba in full?
For this year po, Mr. Chair, we are currently drafting pa lang po yung guidelines. So, hindi ko
sa
pa lang
budget
po.
hearing namin, inassure ni Secretary sa amin na January 1 pa lang, fully released na yan. Sabi gano'n, yung pala January, ano na ba ngayon?
We also have to consider kasi, Mr. Chair, yung mga yung mga nasa veto message po ni President.
Affected ba si CHR doon? Hindi yata eh. Hindi yata.
We will have to double check.
Sige, reality lang tayo. Reality. January 16, 2025 na. CHR, natanggap na ba ninyo ang budget ninyo for year 2025 in full or what percentage of that ang na-release na sa inyo?
Hindi ko sigurado. I-check ko po sa aming finance yung kung na-release. Parang wala pa yata.
Wala pa.
Pero hindi po ako sure kung na-release na yung natatanong po namin sa amin.
Matitawa kasi mag-uusap pa rin naman tayo eh. Kasi pinag-usapan talaga natin dito yun. Kasi okay. Yung pagiging independent ninyo, do you feel that you are not independent right now?
No, Your Honor.
You're independent. Yeah? Sa lima yung independent by law. Yes. Nasa constitution pa nga. Independent in the leadership.
Leadership.
I think the president chose well the chairman of DCHR. You're a presidential appointee,
Yes, sir.
hindi ba? Wala na nga nag-check dun sa presidential appointee dahil hindi dumadaan sa CA yan.
Yes.
Wala na nag-check niyan eh. Oh, and then ano yung third?
Operations.
Oh, in operations. Dependent kayo eh.
Independent po.
Yung kung
We
saan kayo
determine our own
pupunta, anong
programs.
imbestigahan ninyo. No? Then yung isa, policy yata na ba po?
Policy.
Policy. Independent
Yes.
din kayo. Hindi, ito na lang. Sa fifth is the financial operation.
Financial, yes.
But the Paris principles never said fiscal autonomy. Tama?
I think meron
the phrase.
pong ginamit na fiscal
Ginamit
autonomy.
yun pa yun.
We'll
Okay.
check po it, then we'll confirm
So
it.
doon lang tayo sa lima. Sa financial, ano pa problema? Yung may term kang ginamit kanina. Sinabi mo na inaano sila. May term si Senator Robby na nag-strike sa akin. Ginigipit.
Opo.
Ginigipit. I mean, okay, sa budget process. Kasi kami ang minority rito, kami masigasig magtanong. Kami ba paano nyo nararamdaman yung ginigipit kayo? Oh.
During our time,
Oh.
Your Honor, hindi naman ho namin nararamdaman. Since we assumed the office until the present, wala ho kaming gano'n. But we can confirm that may mga ganong pagkakataon during the past commissions.
And theoretically, it must not be possible. Yan ang gusto mo sabihin. Kahit hindi ginagawa sa inyo, yung system that dapat natin ensures that should not be possible na ginigipit kayo. That's the point.
Yes, yeah.
Kaya yun ang isipin ngayon natin. Saan kayo posibleng gipitin? Ito na nga, 1.8 ang hinihingi ninyo, billion, 800 ang sinama sa President's budget. So in effect, 1 billion pesos worth of projects, activities, and programs will not be funded. Ang ibig bang sabihin nun, it will lead to you being not so active for that year? Kasi ang inisip niyo, okay, we will really be fully active, fully occupied for the year 2025. Puno na yung oras natin, ang dami natin mga projects, but we will need 1.8 billion. Binigay 800 million, less than half yun eh. So does that mean that yung oras ninyo ngayon dumamin? Kasi wala kayong magawa? Ganun ba meaning no?
Kailangan ho namin mag-adjust ng mga programa at aktibidades. So, yung plano na sapat para sana sa 1.8 billion na pondo, dahil nabawasan, kailangan ho namin magbawas ng aming aktibidades.
Correct.
So,
pero yung 1.8 billion na aktibidades, naisip niyo sa isang taon, kaya niyong gawin eh.
Opo, kaya po.
Kaya nga, tapos 800 million na lang ang binudget sa inyo, ang daming na-free up sa time
Mas lalo hong kaya. Kaya lang may mga issues, may mga concerns na hindi ho namin kayang tugunan dahil doon.
Nabalak ninyong tugunan?
Yes.
Okay.
Dahil kung atin hong titignan, ang malawak po yung mandato ng komisyon eh. Hindi lang ho kami nag-iimbestiga ng paglabag sa civil and political rights. We are also involved in sa mga policy matters, like sa mga legislations we are invited. We are also conducting dialogues, consultations with different sectors of the society upang makabuo ng magandang rekomendasyon sa iba't ibang sektor ng ating pamahalaan at ng ating pamayanan.
Hindi, sabi mo civil and political rights, ang gusto mo, binanggit mo nga kanina, ECOSOC cultural. Yes. So, accepted na ba yun that ECOSOC rights and cultural rights are part of human rights?
Yes, sure.
Accepted na yan?
Opo.
Worldwide and also here?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so research din ng aking staff, wala daw fiscal autonomy na phrase din sa Paris Principles. So, just correct us if we are wrong, pero check ninyo. Sige. Okay, so that's what, kasi may Supreme Court case na eh. And the Supreme Court case interprets the current wording of the Constitution. Okay.
Kung yun pong, I think this jurisprudence na tinutukoy yung CREA versus CHR.
Employees Union, yeah?
Yes. Ang issue ho kasi doon yung plantilla sa positions po eh. Hindi siya yung fiscal autonomy talaga. So it's more of the plantilla kung saan sinabi ng Supreme Court na DBM ay meron pa rin, kailangan pa rin dumaan sa DBM yung pag-create ng positions, etc. Dahil sa trabaho ng DBM yun. Pero pagdating mo sa fiscal autonomy, wala naman direktang
May we ask Attorney Baraan, yung mga agencies or commissions na concededly may fiscal autonomy, pagdating pa rin sa mga positions, collapsing the positions or creating new positions, they still need to go through the DBM?
Yes po, Mr. Chair.
Same. Okay. So we can ano nga, okay, we can argue that way na kung doon lang tayo sa issue at hand, yun lang yung ruling doon, no? Okay. So sige, you want us to be bold and pursue this idea na this is the, but what is the meaning of fiscal autonomy? Per the Supreme Court. Kasi andun yung phrase sa Constitution, pero hindi yata dinefine sa Constitution eh. So, per the Supreme Court, what is the meaning of fiscal autonomy? And is that the fiscal autonomy that you want to be incorporated in the charter? Ganun po muna, Chairman. Sige, ganun muna. Ito muna. Is the meaning of fiscal autonomy that you want found in your charter the same as the meaning of fiscal autonomy as defined by the Supreme Court? Gusto mo parehas? Yes. Parehas. Sige. And then what is that meaning?
Independence or freedom regarding financial matters from outside control and is characterized by self-direction, self-determination.
Hindi pa present sa inyo ngayon yan. Ginugulo ba namin kayo sa ninyo? Sa budget ninyo? Once you have it, ginugulo pa ba namin kayo? Mina-micromanage ba kayo ng outside force?
Hindi po. Kaya lang kung may mga pagkakataon na ang komisyon kapag mga hindi kasama dun sa regular release ng DBM na budget, nire-request po namin yan sa DBM for funding. Like mayroon nag-file ng monetization of leave credits na hindi naman yan na iprograma. So ire-request po namin sa kanila. Unlike other agencies, I think
where do they get it? The agencies with fiscal autonomy, where do they get the money kung wala naman sa program nila? Attorney Baraan, help us nga para mas ma-appreciate na
yes,
namin yung ano.
Mr. Chair, yung iba pong CFAG, meron po silang authority to use savings. And isa po sa priority ng use of savings is for personal services po. So, baka
can we use that concept sa CHI? Kasi gina-grant by law lang yan eh.
Yes po.
Diba? The authority to use savings or authority to use collections by law, gina-grant yan eh.
Kung
diba?
tingnan po natin yung Constitution po kasi, yung may authority to use savings lang po ay si President, si House, Senate, Judiciary, and Constitutional Commissions lang po. Under the Constitution.
Those who can be given the power to realign.
Opo. As mentioned po earlier, hindi po part as Constitutional Commission po.
So baka hindi pwede by law pala? Ibigay.
Baka po it might violate po the Constitution.
Kung gano'n ang purpose ba, baka even by law, hindi pwedeng, even if we avoid using the phrase fiscal autonomy and goes very specific to address that problem, baka rin pala kasi yung use of savings pala is a realignment. In effect, is that a realignment?
Hindi po. Use of their available funds po within the office po. Hindi naman po realignment, Mr. Chair, pero kailangan may meaning po kasi tayo ng savings and kung ano po i-augment po.
Any items?
Augment.
Per general provision.
That's the budget term.
Augmentation.
Sa pagkakalam mo, Atty. Baraan, can we not extend this power to any agency by law? Sandy.
If we will be strict po and follow po the Constitution, Hindi po dapat, but we defer po to the wisdom of Congress po. Thank you po.
Oo nga, kasi medyo ang introductory sentence pala rito, no law shall be passed authorizing any transfer of appropriations. However, etc. Okay, so yan yung medyo mandatory in the negative. Okay. Sige. Pag-aralan namin to, Chairman, pero siguro ganito, you can make some specific requests to enhance your financial independence even more. Sige, tignan natin. Avoiding phrases or words na alam nating medyo tali ang kamay natin sa Constitution. Let's go after yung concepts which are possible solutions to actual problems ng inyong specific agency, CHR. What you've encountered through the years, gano'n na siguro.
Sige po.
I-solve na lang natin yung actual nila.
And mag-submit po rin po kami ng siguro position paper on regarding fiscal autonomy.
Na-focus lang tayo medyo sa financial matters kasi andito si DBM and GSIS, financial matters. Pero actually maraming panlaman nitong bills ninyo like issuance of mandamus, prohibition, rates, mga ganun. The grant of power yun eh. Another grant of power. Siguro, ganito, we will ask the other agencies siguro to also give us position papers para matest natin yung ideas na yun.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sige. Sige, parang... Pero tama rin yun. Dapat kayo. Kasi the purpose, sa discussion na namin, the purpose is precisely not only to give remedy to the aggrieved parties na violated na yung human rights nila, but if possible, make you really proactive to prevent.
Yes, Your Honor, to prevent. Actually, nasa kasaligang batas po yun.
Hindi lang yung further the injury, but to prevent.
To prevent. Actually, hindi lang pag mag-imbestiga, but kung titignan natin, balikan natin yung discussion ng ating framers, hintuin yung paglabag. Kaya lang wala klarong provision.
Yeah. Parang proactive ombudsman siya pagdating sa human rights. Ganun na yun ang gawin niya. Oo. Pasabutin na nga yung hindi nalabag. So wala na nga sa statistics eh. Pero na-prevent siya. Parang ganun din po yun ito sa ating mga not in government. Kunyari, yung mga terrorism statistics natin, mas gusto nga natin na wala eh. Tapos siyempre, mapapagalitan ngayon yung council, anti-terrorism council na, hindi nyo ginagawa trabaho ninyo, walang mga statistics. So ganda nga, hindi natin na-realize. It's better if it's closer to zero.
Yes.
Di ba? So ganun din si CHR. If human rights violations are closer to zero, mas mabuti. But we want to do it the constitutional. Pagdating sa legal, it will give you the legal, but I hope tested against the Constitution, pasado siya. Hindi ko na i-burden pa si Atty. Baraan na pati yung constitutionality ng mga mandamus prohibition sa kanya pa natin itanong kasi financial matters lang at saka kay Atty. Baraan. So any other comments sa CHR Charter?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Atty. Baraan.
May we respectfully note lang din po on the 2025 budget proposal po of CHR, yung mga hindi po na-include ay pertains to infrastructure projects and ICT projects na it requires po yung mga requirements po natin under the budget call po. Kasi
hindi sila comply?
Per our based po sa evaluation po ng aming operations group.
Pero properly to be lodged sa CHR budget naman yun. If the CHR has some infra project, lagay sa budget nila. ICT project sa budget din nila.
Yes po, Mr. Chair. As long as we hope po, kung talagang priority po ng CHR para ma-comply din po kasi mga NEDA requirements din po yun and ISSP po. Thank you po.
Okay. Chairman, at least na-communicate naman siguro sa kanila yon na the reason. Kasi kahapon, kadidiscuss lang namin ng E-Government Act. At yun na nga yun na tinanong ko yung sponsor kasi paano yung mga ICT purchases ng agencies? Doon na ba sa DICT yon or doon sa kine-create na council. Hindi daw. The ICT projects of the agencies will be found in the agency budget. So ganun pa rin. Nothing will change except that, how much? Sige nga, how much was the ICT request of the CHR?
Hindi ko alam yung detalye nung hindi ko kayang bigay ho sa inyo ngayon.
Kung nangalahati kasi yung inyong budget, yan laki siguro sa infra ba yun? Are you building a structure?
Yung
Sinabi niya
hindi
Tony
po
Bangaan,
kasi sa operations po yung aming yun nabawas. Like last year, malaki ho yung nabawas sa budget namin for operations. So, naging malaking epekto po sa amin dahil kailangan namin mag-adjust ng aming mga activities eh.
dapat maintindihan din natin itong CHR, they're like a mini DFA na marami din silang mga international conferences na ina-attendan kasi network kasi yan eh. Pagdating sa human rights concerns na it's better to be a member of a larger network, di ba? Sige, ganun na muna, Chairman. Submission of position papers lang, pag-aralan lang din namin sa constitutionality yung ibang concepts. Yung ibang concepts naman, ano na yun, judgment call of the legislature na yun, kung if it's wise to give you that additional power. Okay. Last na lang, ito lang naisip ko. Doon sa hearing natin sa drug war, meron kayong release doon na EO na ano ulit?
Executive Order number 2 and which is the Freedom of Information yung EO2 po ay Freedom of Information. Merong nilabas na list of exceptions. At yun hong list of exceptions yung ginagamit na dahilan kung bakit hindi kami nabibigyan ng impormasyon tungkol sa mga police operations na kung saan may namatay.
Ang hindi nagbibigay PNP.
PNP.
Okay. Kung may charter, itong charter na tayo, masasagot ba 'yon?
Sana po dahil
which provision ang makaayos nun? Pati information sharing, hindi pa ginagawa. Information lang. Hindi mo bibigay rin. Bibigay.
Yun po ang buhay nila. Information.
Oo, tsaka.
hindi yan.
Kasi sana masagot na rin natin. Di ba? Nag-CHR charter na tayo.
Saan siya? Saan siya dito sa yun nung sa section
i-connect saan?
15 on investigative powers and function.
Are we using the Lapid bill? Sige, yun muna gamitin na lang natin.
Letter
20. Section 15C.
Compel the attendance of witnesses and production of evidence to place the witness under oath or affirmation, etc.
Wala, hindi naman ito yung mo eh. You're just asking the police, di ba? For information.
Meron yan dito.
Sagutin natin yun ha. Make sure lang when we review the bill kung sagutin naman natin yun. Pagdating lang naman sa information, yung investigation papers, yung blatter siguro dapat naman ipa-access naman sa CHR yun by law, and then may penalty if you ganun na lang po gawin.
Ilagay po namin sa aming position paper.
Pag-isipan nyo po yung actual, ang gusto ko kasi mangyari, yung actual na difficulties na na-encounter ninyo na sa tingin ninyo ay uncalled for or unfair or unjustified, sagutin natin sa CHR charter na hindi na maulit.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so anybody else sa CHR charter? Sige, so with that, we will just COMSEC yung mga DOJ, we just ask them to also to comment on the bill. Sino pa ba? Oh, tama. The DOJ. Sige, so with that, we thank you. Chairman, meron pa ba?
Wala na
Any
po.
other?
Maraming salamat po.
You have anything sa CHR Charter? Okay. So with that, we thank the attendance of our resource persons on this CHR Charter. So we will now proceed to the next subject matter. We will now excuse you and with our thanks, Chairman, Attorney
Thank you, Your Honor.
Gemma Paruhinog, Attorney Tricia Baraan, Attorney Lucio Yu, VP Rodrigo Manuel, ASEC. Si ASEC sa Balabatin is with, sa ano ka pa, no? Sa Nomad, no? GSIS, ano natin yung so ito, parang ano na to, another matter na ito, yung optional retirement. I-take up ulit natin yun sa floor. Magandang bill yun eh. Mag-ready kayo ron. Hindi ko kayo nakita dun eh. Mic, sir, mic na para naka-record.
Anyway, I was there when you were interpolating, Senator. We were in the back, and we thank the good senator for actually the one of the greatest concern there is the actuarial impact. At may naman upon meeting with Senator Bong Revilla, I think they gave an alternative like early retirement but with discount benefits. But we're still trying to get the actuarial report. And the last meeting with the Senate President, I think he wants it incorporated doon sa right sizing bill. I do not know kung ano. But we'll see. But yun lang, may impact lang talaga.
Mas appropriate siya sa GSIS Act mismo. Doon siya.
Well,
Kasi very specific eh. Very specific provision yung involved doon.
Optional, but discounted.
Yes.
Discounted.
Matter of law naman yun. What is in the
Yes,
law. Sige, thank you for your participation this afternoon. Okay po, so we now proceed to Senator Mark Villar's bill on anti-scalping. So maybe the senator has an opening statement to make.
Yes, thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Salamat po. To our distinguished chairperson, Minority Floor Leader, Senator Coco Pimentel, thank you very much for convening this public hearing on various bills on the Charter of the Commission on Human Rights, Digital Nomads Visa Act, and the Anti-Ticket Scalping Bill filed by this representation. Mr. Chair, it is high time that we institutionalize the role of the CHR as the country's independent human rights institution to give them powers to act on their mandates. With the increasing digitalization of the global economy, it is also important to have timely legislation to govern the influx of digital nomads who have been making the Philippines a home for their remote work. Among all the bills we have today, Mr. Chair, I would like to emphasize my sentiments on the anti-ticket scalping. Mr. Chairman, dumarami na po ngayon ng scalpers na nanlalamang sa ating mga kapwa Pilipino. Ang mga scalpers po na ito ay nag-hoard ng mga tickets na kanilang ibinibenta sa legit fans at concert goers sa mas mataas na presyo. Na kadalasan po ay more than 100% po ang patong. Sa ginagawa po ito ng mga scalpers, kinukuha po nila ang pagkakataon ng mga fans na makapanood ng concert ng kanilang mga idol at a fair price. Mr. Chair, these scalpers rob legitimate fans of having possibly a once-in-a-lifetime experience of meeting artists that they have long been supporting. Mr. Chair, marami po tayo nakikitang mga post ng mga fans sa iba't ibang concerts dito sa atin. Mayroon po isang common observation sa mga concert na ito, maraming empty seats dahil sa scalpers na nag-hoard ng mga tickets na hindi nila nabenta sa mga fans. Why? Dahil sobra-sobra po ang kanilang patong sa original price na hindi po makatwiran para sa mga fans. Inaagawan po ng scalpers ang fans na gustong-gustong makapunta sa mga concert na ito. Mr. Chair, we must look at the matter because of the multifaceted effect it has on our sports and concert industry, especially for fans who lose on the supposed concert of their life, meeting their idols that they rarely see. Mr. Chair, kailangan pong managot ang mga scammers na ito at kailangan po natin siguraduhin na mayroon tayong batas na sasagot sa matagal ng hinaing ng mga fans at concert goers. Thank you very much, Chair. At ako naman po, swerte ako at nakikita ko yung idol ko po, si Robin Padilla, araw-araw sa Senado. Pero karamihan ng mga fans hindi nila nakikita ang mga idol nila araw-araw. Kaya kailangan na po natin itong batas na ito. Maraming salamat po.
Ito bang scalping, a practice of scalping, ang most affected would be concerts. Is this also done with movies?
Depende po kung premier night, pwede.
Pero siguro po kadalasan I think mostly concerts, and maybe one of our
Concerts,
resource
yeah.
persons can confirm this. I'm not an expert.
Educate us more kasi pero general ito eh. General
Pati
yung law.
sports also, Chairman.
Yung
Pati
law na,
sports.
sports, pwede, sports events. Oo nga, sports events. Sports events, pwede. Kunyari nga, okay. Let's say may NBA dito, ganun, ano, so. Okay, can we ask first the DTI? Iba ito punishable na under Consumer Act or some other consumer protection laws?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Your Honors. For this particular proposed bill, Mr. Chair, the DTI, particularly the Fair Trade Group, our group, and the Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau supports the bill as it is aligned with the objective of the Consumer Act of the Philippines, or Republic Act 7394. It is a declared state policy that for the state to protect the interests of the consumer, promote the general welfare, and to establish standards of conduct for business and industry. Towards this end, the state shall implement measures to achieve the following objectives: protection against deceptive, unfair, and unconscionable sales acts and practices, provision of adequate rights and means of redress. Under Chapter 1, Title 3 of the Consumer Act, Mr. Chair, it refers to deceptive, unfair, and unconscionable sales acts or practices, and provides that the state shall promote and encourage fair, honest, and equitable relations among parties in consumer transactions, and protect the consumer against deceptive, unfair, and unconscionable sales act or practices. Under the law, the DTI is mandated to enforce the provisions of this particular chapter po. It is relevant to note that under Article 52 of the Consumer Act, an act or practice shall be deemed unfair or unconscionable whenever the producer, manufacturer, distributor, supplier, or seller, by taking advantage of the consumer's lack of time or the general conditions of the environment or surroundings, induces the consumer to enter into a sales transaction grossly inimical to the interests of the consumer, or grossly one-sided in favor of the producer, manufacturer, distributor, supplier, or seller. One of the circumstances that should be considered in determining whether an act or practice is unfair and unconscionable is when the consumer transaction was entered into. When the consumer transaction was entered into, the price grossly exceeded the price or of which similar products or services were readily obtainable in similar transaction by like consumers. Mr. Chair, these provisions are already implemented, but an aggrieved consumer needs to establish that she or he has been taken advantage of by these sellers, distributors, and that the act complained of is indeed unconscionable. And on the other hand, under this proposed bill, it does not merely provide the circumstances when to consider a transaction unconscionable, but it specifically makes offering, hoarding, selling, distributing, buying, dealing in, and the other acts mentioned and referred to therein as ticket scalping as prohibited. Kasi po, Mr. Chair, we have received several inquiries, reports regarding ticket scalping, pero yung challenge po kasi on our part as regulator, yung Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau, should we consider yung mga individual sale, yung parang consumer to consumer transaction siya Mr. Chair. So medyo yun yung challenge sa amin. So we're very thankful for this bill kasi diretso na siya, ni-specify na siya that ticket scalping is a prohibited act. Pero may mga certain clarifications lang po kami. Kasi under the bill, meron po tayong nilagay na if it is not more than 10% of the face value of the ticket, parang hindi po siya ticket scalping. So ano ho ba yung intent ng bill? Ganun ho ba talaga? Kasi medyo mahirap i-implement sa part po namin kung parang meron parang within pagka if it is within the 10% na under the law, parang i-consider pa yun ng hearing officer or the prosecutor. So yun lang po yung aming clarification. And isa pa po yung it appears the bill provides na parang criminal in nature lang po that the DTI and the other proposed implementing agencies may file criminal complaint. Criminal in nature siya. So parang silent siya as to administrative action by these implementing agencies. And kung halimbawa mo man po i-consider na may administrative action against these violators, sino po yung agency na may jurisdiction to handle or to hear these administrative complaints po. And again, the only acceptable reason for a consumer or a fan to buy an admission ticket is that he or she wants to be entertained. Nothing more, nothing less. Yun lang po yung sa amin. Thus, no one should be allowed to buy a ticket for purposes of resale, regardless of the percent markup or increase in price. So parang yun lang po. So kasi kami, we're not just protecting consumers, but we're also after promoting the welfare of legitimate businesses, like yung mga legitimate po na nagbebenta ng mga concert tickets. But one more clarification po yung siguro yung scope, on the scope, kung yun po bang okay. So dun po sa scope kasi, yung kung prohibited yung sale of tickets for resale purposes, siguro po baka excluded ho ba yung mga authorized distributors from the definition kasi hindi po na-define yung ticket scalping. Pag ma-define po siya, excluded ho ba yung authorized distributors of these tickets? And covered din po ba yung na-mention ko kanina, yung consumer-to-consumer transaction? When do we consider it consumer-to-consumer? When do we consider it business-to-consumer? That would be all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Porciuncula. Pero ang opinion nyo, currently, pwede nang i-penalize yung tinatawag natin na scalping, which is hindi ikaw you're buying tickets for amusement purposes na hindi mo balak ikaw yung ultimate consumer, but you will resell it. Is that punishable now under the Consumer Act, Section 52?
Yung under the Consumer Act po, yung parang ang punishable is yung nag-take advantage yung seller dahil siguro, manonood yan kahit pa magkano ko ibenta yan. Yun po, Mr. Chair.
Practically pwede. Especially kung wholesale. Nahirapan lang kayo, sabi mo kung 1:1. Kasi na-encounter ko na rin yan na, kunyari kahit sa Viber namin na may classmate ko nakabili ng ticket. All of a sudden, may change in the schedule. Sabi niya, anybody wants to buy this ticket? Wants to buy the ticket. So, iba yun. Pero itong, kunyari, anong concert, Mark, yung sabi mong maraming bakante? May nag-concert?
Ay, nakalimutan ko na yung concert. Pero nangyayari yan.
Nangyayari yung ganun. So, nagbakante. So, most likely, merong entity na wholesale or si marami siyang binili, thousands or hundreds, for the purpose of reselling, wag mo muna tayo mag-focus as to the markup kung magkano niya, ano yung i-resell. But yun yung purpose niya. Is that punishable under Consumer Act? Hindi mo na binibili para manood ka kasi bumili ka na hundreds of tickets tapos binebenta mo
Katulad nung na-mention ko po kanina, under the Consumer Act po kasi parang meron lang circumstances na i-consider when to consider it unconscionable. Unlike in this bill na sinabi niya talaga na prohibited act po siya. Pero yun nga po, kung halimbawa po, individual, yung seller, pero madalas na niyang ginagawa yun and yung siguro yung volume po ng binibili niya, baka yun po yung mga factors din maganda i-consider.
Okay, so you want a more specific law about scalping, anti-scalping. You want it more specific. Kasi Article 52 is the closest sa ngayon of the Consumer Act.
Yes.
Tama? Okay, you want it more specific. Okay.
Yes.
Sige, meron tayo dito representative ng consumer Doon muna, mahihinga tayo kung may feedback ba sila. Sino ba ito? Si Attorney Pañero. Attorney Rodel Taton? Yes. Pañero, you're representing Consumers Union of the Philippines. Can you give us anong mga grievances, anong reklamo about ticket scalping?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, members of this committee. On behalf of the Consumers Union of the Philippines, I am Dean Rodel Taton, and on the part of the CUP, we strongly support this anti-scalping bill. Consumers in exercising their right to choose, because this particular bill looks into the right of the consumers to choose. Answering the statements of the DTI earlier on the unconscionable, unfair, and deceptive practices as based on this scalping practice. And the consumers in exercising their right to choose should be allowed to decide on the best outcome for them, even if it is for entertainment purposes. As of course we have experience like UAAP games, the basketball games. Yes, it's not limited to entertainment or